this Sunday, Real Madrid isn't just voting for a president. I mean, the socios, the fans who literally own this club, you know, the ones holding the actual voting power, they are voting on whether to detonate 150 million euros on a player who honestly might just be an elaborate smokescreen.
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete tactical nuke.
Right. And it's all to fund the ruthless, like scorched earth return of Jose Mourinho. We are literally entering the final corner here. The engine is screaming, and the very soul of the institution is on the line at Valdebebas.
It is an institutional civil war.
Yeah.
I mean, there is really no softer way to frame the atmosphere inside the executive offices right now. We are looking at two entirely incompatible visions colliding at maximum velocity.
Exactly. And, you know, if you are listening to this right now, you need to brace yourself because we are stripping away the PR. We are throwing out the public noise. We are handing you the pure, unfiltered internal blueprints of this election. Today, in this deep dive, we are breaking down Florentino Perez's bombshell. 150 million Galactico promise, the iron-fisted tactical revolution Jose Mourinho is bringing with him. And then on the other side, ENRIQUE'S populist, nostalgia-heavy counteroffensive.
Yeah, and we're going to explain exactly how these plans actually operate internally and why they threaten to tear the current structure completely apart.
Because the stakes are just existential at this point.
They really are. I mean, look at the reality. The club has endured 2 disastrous trophyless seasons, 2 consecutive native leads.
Bloodbath.
Exactly. And that kind of drought, it brings the entire ecosystem to the brink. Sunday changes the trajectory of the next decade, without question. There's no margin for error anymore.
So let's jump straight into the tactical nuke Florentino just dropped on the table. He has stated internally and publicly that this coming Tuesday, a minimum of 150 million in pure cash is being deployed.
Right, pure liquidity.
Yes. And he is directly equating this mystery player to the era-defining signings of Cristiano Ronaldo and Kaká. Now, the only parameters he gave, the player is from a top Champions League club, but explicitly not from the Premier League. So walk me through the mechanics of this, because those are very, very specific breadcrumbs.
They are highly specific. And when you map the internal movement inside the executive board, all the arrows immediately point toward Paris.
Okay, Paris Saint-Germain.
Specifically, they point to the Portuguese midfield duo at PSG. You have João Neves, who is 21 years old, and Vitinha, who is 26. But to understand why this is happening, you really have to look at the power dynamics behind the scenes. Jorge Mendes is back in the fold.
Which is massive. I mean, for years, ever since the Cristiano Ronaldo fallout, that relationship was scorched earth.
Severed completely.
Okay.
The bridge was basically burned to ash.
Totally.
But, you know, in modern football, pragmatism eventually overrides ego. The relationship has been meticulously rebuilt over the last 8 months. Mendes controls a massive sector of the elite market, and Neves and Vitinha are his crown jewels right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at the pitch, the squad desperately needs a creative organizer. We lack that Modric-style metronome, right? Neves is generational engine, and Vitinha operates with an extra, 5 years of runway compared to the veterans. The tactical fit is undeniable.
Okay, look, I hear you on the tactical fit. It makes sense on paper.
Yeah.
But I need to push back hard on the reality of this operation. Walk me through the logic here, because we literally just humiliated Paris Saint-Germain by taking Kylian Mbappe on a free transfer.
I know.
Why on earth would PSG, a state-backed entity with infinite wealth, sell us the keys to their midfield just because we wave 150 million at them? They hate us.
It's a massive hurdle, I agree, but every player has a valuation.
But they don't operate like a normal business. It's a brick wall.
Well, sure.
I mean, there are no release clauses in French football. PSG has zero financial pressure to sell, and their executive ego is severely bruised. They laughed at $200 million for Mbappe when he only had 1 year left on his contract.
That's a fair point, they did.
So if we know PSG isn't going to sell us their midfield engine, who is the $150 million actually for? Because Florentino came out and explicitly denied the rumors around Michael Olise. Why would he do that?
And that denial, that is exactly what you need to pay attention to. You are looking at the mechanics of a classic Florentino smokescreen.
Yes, hiding in plain sight.
Precisely. Let's examine Michael Olise, 24 years old, operating on the right wing at Bayern Munich. When Florentino was pressed in the internal briefings, he batted away Harry Kane. He brushed past Jeremy Doku.
Right.
But when Olise's name came up, the denial was incredibly sharp and specific. Why? Because the moment Real Madrid officially registers interest, Bayern Munich shifts from a standard negotiation to an extortionate one.
Exactly.
They would immediately demand north of 200 million.
Which is why the 150 million cash pile is so crucial here. Because unlike PSG, Bayern Munich actually operates as a rational actor in the global market.
Right, they have to balance the books.
They are a self-sustaining business. They might tell the press Elise isn't for sale, but when 150 million in pure liquidity is placed on the desk in Munich, the boardroom listens.
It changes the entire mathematical equation for them.
Yeah.
And if we look at the tactical implications, the Elise theory makes terrifying sense.
Walk me through it.
We currently have a massive void on the right flank.
Yeah.
You have Valverde, Bellingham, Tchouaméni, and Camavinga causing a severe traffic jam in the central midfield.
Just stepping all over each other.
Exactly. But on the right wing, it's vacant. Elise brings a left-footed magic that this club hasn't weaponized consistently since peak Gareth Bale. He provides width, he breaks low blocks, and he terrifies defenders.
It fits the Galactico profile perfectly. Florentino doesn't drop 150 million on a central midfielder who just, like, recycles possession.
No, never.
That kind of unprecedented capital is reserved for attackers who get 80,000 people out of their seats.
But see, if you are right, and Florentino's pulling the trigger on a 150 million right winger, we have to transition to the actual machinery of the squad.
Right. The manager.
How does a player like Elise fit into the incoming manager's blueprint? Because the machinery is undergoing a violent overhaul. We are talking about the return of Jose Mourinho.
The ultimate paradigm shift.
And this is not speculation. We know the club has already officially notified Benfica that they are triggering Mourinho's buyout clause.
Wow.
Yeah, that clause recently spiked from 6 million to 15 million euros, and the paperwork is actively moving in Lisbon as we speak.
Okay, so map this out for me. Mourinho is stepping into the Valdebebas dressing room. What does the tactical blueprint actually look like in his head?
Mourinho is demanding a lethal, uncompromising 4-2-3-1 counterattacking system. He wants verticality. The defensive foundation is already locked in, by the way. The deals for Denzel Dumfries at right back and Ibrahima Konate at center back are finalized internally.
Total physical monsters.
Exactly. Mourinho wants transitions that cut through opposition lines like a scalpel. Now, picture that front line. Vinicius Jr. on the left, Kylian Mbappe operating through the middle, and a left-footed Michael Elise cutting in from the right.
Wait, hold on. Stop right there. Picture yourself as Mourinho on the touchline, okay? You have Vini, Mbappe, and Elise up top, who is actually tracking back.
Yeah.
Mourinho demands absolute defensive discipline. His entire philosophy is built on blood, sweat, and suffering for the badge without the ball. Is he really going to tolerate 3 megastar forwards walking back while his midfield double pivot gets completely overrun?
Probably not.
Or is one of these 150 million Galacticos getting benched to maintain his tactical balance?
You've just hit on the exact friction point that will define this era. But you have to understand why Mourinho is being brought in. It's not just about the X's and O's. It is psychological warfare.
How so?
Look at the last 2 years. The dressing room under Carlo Ancelotti and then Xabi Alonso and eventually Alvaro Arbeloa. It devolved into a country club.
It was paralysis, total indulgence of player power.
Completely. Players were operating by decree. If you had the status, you played. Regardless of your physical output and training, regardless of your defensive metrics, the intensity just evaporated.
Right.
Mourinho is coming in to scorch the earth and build an army. He is establishing an aggressive meritocracy from the first minute of the first training session. We know he is already mapping out calls to the heavyweights in that dressing room to enforce loyalty.
Just like he did with Javier Zanetti at Inter Milan or, during his first stint here in Madrid. He broke the egos before they could break him.
Exactly. He will look the biggest earners in the eye and tell them the recess is over. If you don't track the opposing fullback, you sit on the bench.
Wow.
It does not matter if your name is Mbappe,
Yeah.
Vinicius, or Elise. The structure protects the team, and the team serves the structure.
But man, what are the collateral consequences of that mentality? Because if you're listening to this and you've been following the Youth Academy, Mourinho's arrival is a massive red flag for development.
Oh, a huge red flag.
What happens to ENDRICK, who is returning from his loan? What happens to Nico Paz, who desperately needs first-team minutes? Or Victor Munoz? How do 19-year-olds survive in a win-now, scorched earth environment?
The brutal truth. They often don't. Mourinho must decide immediately if these kids are ready for trench warfare. He does not have the mandate or, frankly, the patience to hold hands and develop players who aren't ready to bleed for the immediate objective.
They're just gone.
basically. If ENDRICK cannot adapt his pressing triggers to fit the defensive demands of a Mourinho 4-2-3-1, he goes right back out on loan. Nico Paz. Same story. Mourinho is not here to nurture a 5-year project. He is here to win the Champions League in 10 months.
Okay, so if Florentino's plan is this surgical, ruthless corporate takeover, backed by $150 million and Jose Mourinho, why is Sunday an actual war? What is Enrique Riquelme offering that is actually turning the heads of the voting socios?
Because while Florentino is meticulously assembling a Death Star, Riquelme is launching a counteroffensive built on pure, unadulterated populism. It is a complete ideological clash.
Right.
Riquelme's headline promises are designed entirely to grab the front pages of the Sunday papers. I mean, he is standing at the podium promising the dual signings of Erling Haaland and Rodri.
But the math doesn't work. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the squad's salary cap and tactical geometry.
I know.
Where does Haaland actually fit on a pitch that already has Mbappe and Vini? Are we proposing a 2-4-4 formation?
It's absurd.
And more importantly, Rafaela Pimenta Haaland's agent has already fiercely denied that any pre-agreement exists. She shut the rumor down instantly. You don't parade a generational striker's jersey without the contract being bulletproof.
It's a populist fantasy. Riquelme is trying to recreate the magic of Florentino's legendary Luis Figo promise from the year 2000. But he is doing it without any of the actual operational leverage.
Zero leverage.
Haaland has an ironclad contract until 2034. Rodri has openly deferred any conversations about his future. But to manage this fantasy squad, Riquelme is taking a massive, highly publicized gamble on Jurgen Klopp. We know internally that RAÚL has personally traveled to Germany to try and convince Klopp to take the managerial role if Riquelme wins the presidency.
But look at the structural chaos Riquelme is proposing to get there. It's not just the players on the pitch, it's the front office. He wants to surround himself with club legends, but he's putting them in entirely the wrong executive roles.
It completely ignores the operational reality of a modern football institution.
This organizational chart is absolute madness. It's like asking a plumber to change the oil in your car and asking your mechanic to come fix your fridge.
Yes.
Why on earth are we taking RAÚL, a man whose entire identity is built on being a coach on the grass, and shoving him into the boardroom as a sporting director with zero executive negotiation experience?
It makes no sense.
And then on the flip side, taking Fernando HIERRO, a man who has actually operated successfully as a sporting director, and throwing him down into the academy as academy chief. And Vicente Del Bosque and Iker Casillas are being brought in to work, quote-unquote, for free, just to smile for the cameras. It's a facade.
It is a complete nostalgic smokescreen. Riquelme knows he cannot compete with Florentino's raw capital or his ruthless operational efficiency, so he is weaponizing the past. He wants the older socios to walk into Valdebebas, see the faces of RAÚL, HIERRO, Casillas, and Del Bosque, remember the 2014 Decima or the 2010 World Cup, and vote purely on emotion.
But emotion doesn't negotiate transfer fees.
Exactly. A billion-euro enterprise cannot be run on nostalgia. If you put RAÚL with zero front office experience into a room to negotiate with Jorge Mendes or the Bayern Munich executive board over a $150 million transfer, he gets eaten alive. He does not have the contacts, the leverage, or the corporate ruthlessness required to navigate the elite market.
And contrast that front office with the manager they are supposedly courting. Does anyone genuinely believe Jurgen Klopp, a manager whose entire philosophy demands absolute holistic control over a club's culture, sports science, and transfers, is going to willingly walk into a chaotic boardroom of inexperienced executives?
He would never accept those terms. Klopp builds meticulous structures. Riquelme is offering him an illusion. Look at the fundamental contrasts in styles here. Riquelme says he wants Rodri to control the tempo, Haaland to act as a pure finisher, and Klopp to run a high-pressing, heavy-metal transitional system.
Right.
But he hasn't proposed a defensive structure. He hasn't outlined a transition plan. He's promising the socios a fantasy football team drawn on a napkin.
Which brings the tension of this Sunday to an absolute boiling point. Because this is no longer a choice between two men. You, as the listener, are watching a choice between two completely incompatible ideologies.
It is Florentino's calculated Mourinho-led $150 million surgical strike against Riquelme's chaotic, legend-heavy Klopp-Haaland revolution.
Wow.
One is a highly structured corporate blueprint. The other is a massive institutional gamble.
And every single ballot cast this Sunday dictates whether we return to ruthless European dominance or spiral into a decade of institutional crisis. If they choose Florentino, the rebuild is instantaneous and violent. If they choose RIQUELME, we are looking at a fundamental dismantling of the club's operational model.
The pressure is immense. But, before we wrap this up, there is one final piece of this puzzle that we haven't touched on. Something that could completely shatter everything we think we know about this coming Tuesday.
Okay, wait, I'm listening. What's the missing piece?
We've debated João Neves. We've debated Vitinha. You are highly convinced the target is Michael Olise and that Bayern is the ultimate smokescreen.
I am.
But what if Florentino is playing games so deep that even the smokescreen has a smokescreen? If PSG absolutely refuses to sell, and if Bayern genuinely holds the line and rejects $150 million for Olise, what if Florentino has a third, completely hidden name locked in the Bernabeu vault?
Wait, a Shadow Galactico?
Exactly. A player nobody in the global market is talking about. Someone who hasn't been leaked to a single board member, ready to be unveiled on Tuesday to completely change the entire paradigm of European football. Florentino has pulled rabbits out of hats before when backed into a corner.
Man. Now that is the kind of internal maneuver that keeps the executives awake at night. You are now armed to the teeth with the ultimate internal knowledge. You know the mechanics behind the $150 million, the psychological warfare of Mourinho, and the nostalgic chaos of RIQUELME.
The battle lines are drawn.
Sunday decides it all. Keep your eyes open, trust nobody's public statements, and brace for impact. We'll be right here when the dust settles.